As we all know, basketball is played with 5 players on each opposing team at the start of the game. The starters are oftentimes the ones getting all the attention, especially when the majority of NBA superstars are in the starting lineup. But today we will deviate from the big names and give the spotlight to the super subs of yesteryears and current ones, as we will run down the top 5 sixth-man players in NBA history. Stay tuned to find out which sixth man holds the record for the most points in their franchise, beating out 2 NBA legends for that title. Before we begin, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn the notifications on so that you wouldn't miss any NBA content that we're making. With that settled, let's jump into it. Ricky Pierce. Drafted with the 18th pick overall by the Detroit Pistons in the 1982 draft, no one thought Ricky Pierce would make such an impact in the NBA despite being tagged as an under-the-radar prospect out of Rice University. After playing sparingly for the Pistons and the Clippers, Pierce found his stride by wearing the Milwaukee Bucks jersey, where he embraced an off-the-bench role while Terry Cummings, Sidney Moncrief, and Paul Pressey led the starting unit. Pierce quickly became comfortable as a spark plug that provided offensive firepower while the main guys were out. After the 1985-86 season, Pierce averaged no less than 16 points a game while logging in 26 minutes per game. Due to his 6'4" stature and 205-pound frame, Pierce could absorb contact while slashing inside the lane, and he also had a good shooting stroke in the perimeter. Despite the playoff heartbreaks the Bucks suffered during Pierce's 7-year stretch playing for the team, his numbers grew steadily and eventually became the 6th man of the year in the 1986-87 season while averaging 19.5 points per game and shooting 53.4% from the field. He would then up the ante 3 seasons later, and this resulted in another 6th man of the year award, this time averaging a career-high 23 points per game as a guy coming off as a reliever to a stacked Bucks squad. And a year later, he was included in the All-Star selection in 1991, making him one of the few players who made the All-Star while simultaneously being the 6th man. Pierce was later shipped to the Seattle Supersonics in exchange for Dale Ellis and continued to drop buckets, but this time as a starter in his first 2 seasons with his new team. His numbers started to dwindle during the 93-94 season, and he hopped from team to team since then with brief stints in Golden State, Indiana, Denver, and Charlotte before ending his career back in Milwaukee. Manu Ginobili. One of the cornerstones of the San Antonio Spurs' perennial success, particularly in the early 2000s, was Manu Ginobili. Known for their knack for finding talent, the Spurs bet on Ginobili and took him with the 57th overall pick in the 1999 NBA draft. Ginobili didn't play for the Black and Silver until 2002-2003 season, where he assumed the role of a backup to veteran forward and aging wingman Steve Smith. Despite only contributing 7.6 points per game in his rookie year, Ginobili first tasted NBA glory when the Spurs beat the Nets to capture the 2nd title in the 2003 NBA Finals, rallying behind their twin towers Tim Duncan and David Robinson. Shortly after Robinson's retirement, Ginobili was inserted into the starting lineup to inject some youth, power, and energy. From the Twin Towers era that gave them success in the recent years, the Spurs transitioned to the Big Three era featuring the international backcourt tandem of Tony Parker and Ginobili, while Tim Duncan remained as the team's fulcrum that made everything work. In the succeeding seasons, Greg Popovich decided that putting Ginobili on the bench would increase their chances of winning ball games. While Parker and Duncan provided the much-needed punch as starters, Ginobili would complement the two as a low-key superstar while waiting to be unleashed off the bench. As a result of his potent chemistry, the Spurs won the chip in 2005, with Manu being included in the All-Star pool for the very first time in his career. 2 years later, the Spurs hoisted the trophy yet again, and a year after that, Ginobili was finally crowned the 6th man of the year, averaging 19.5 points per game while logging a career high in minutes as well. As Manu began to age, the foreign veteran still managed to provide a significant impact on the court, despite embracing a support role. At the tail end of his career, the Argentinian was able to grab his 4th championship in limited minutes as Kawhi Leonard took over the reins as the franchise's lone star after the Big Three's decade-long success. Jamal Crawford. Jamal Crawford is considered the most unguardable and flashiest 6th man in NBA history. He started his career in Chicago when they drafted him 8th overall in 2000. Crawford would struggle at first as he adjusted to the NBA game, but later on would find his groove, and while playing for the Knicks, he would average 17.7 points an outing in his first season. He's a 6'5" savvy scorer and a flashy ball handler that is simply unstoppable when he decides to put the ball in the bucket. He would experience a surge in scoring in the 2007-2008 season with a career high of 20.6 points per game, while tallying almost 40 minutes of play. After spending some time as a Knick, Crawford would bring his talent to Atlanta, where he would win his first Sixth Man of the Year award in 2010. 2 years after that, Crawford would change zip codes yet again, this time as a member of the Clippers, where he would notch yet another pair of Sixth Man of the Year awards in 2014 and 2016, making him one of the only 2 3-time Sixth Man of the Year winners alongside Lou Williams. For those of you who are unaware of his other achievements, Crawford is an all-time leader in 4-point plays, and he also is the first ever player to have 50-point outings while suiting up for 4 different franchises. Lou Williams. In his first 2 years in the NBA, Lou Williams would just average a total of 6.2 points per game as the 45th overall pick by the Sixers in 2005. As a 6'1" scrawny scoring guard, no one in the world thought that Lou Williams would become one of the greatest sixth men that ever graced the NBA. After his lackluster second season in the league, Williams' career seemed like it was headed for a major disappointment. Despite the odds being stacked against him, Lou worked hard to develop his game and prove to everyone that he could go toe-to-toe with the best of them. As a result, Lou maintained a double-digit scoring output at the start of his 3rd year in the league and has never looked back since. After staying in Philly for a couple of years, Williams played for the Hawks for 2 years before landing in Toronto, where he would grab the first Sixth Man of the Year honors, averaging 15.5 points per game while shooting 40.4% from the field. After his 1-year gig with the Raptors, Lou would pack his bags and go play for 2 years with the Lakers and a year with the Rockets before settling in as a backup scorer in the stacked lineup of the LA Clippers. It is here where he would win 2 consecutive Sixth Man of the Year awards in 2018 and 2019. It was also in 2019 where he surpassed Dale Curry's record for most bench points in the NBA history. The strong case that could solidify Williams' claim as the greatest off-the-bench player the NBA has ever seen. John Havlicek. If we're going to go down the list of the best when it comes to players who came off the bench, John Havlicek's name is definitely a certified shoo-in in this underlooked category. Before the award or even the word Sixth Man itself became a recognizable term in the basketball vernacular, Havlicek was already doing Sixth Man stuff before it was cool. In short, Hondo is the real OG of OGs in terms of revolutionizing the Sixth Man role that we know today. Playing second fiddle behind Celtics legend Bob Cousy, K.C. Jones, Sam Jones, Tom Heinsohn, and Bill Russell, Havlicek's support off the bench has made the Celtics a dynasty and force to reckon with as they bagged 8 championships in the span of 14 years from 1962 to 1976. You also wouldn't believe me if I told you that this guy, not Larry Bird, Paul Pierce, or even Bill Russell, is the leading scorer in Boston Celtics history with 26,395 points. And to add to his incredible run as a sixth man, he's also the Celtics' all-time leader in 9 different stat categories, like minutes played and field goals attempted. Aside from being an 8-time champion, he's also a 13-time All-Star, 5-time NBA All-Defensive First Team, and a 1-time Finals MVP in 1974. Indeed, Havlicek is not only one of the greatest sixth men who played the game, but he's also considered one of the greatest players in NBA history due to his impressive on-court resume. In your opinion, who do you think is the greatest sixth man ever in the NBA? And if you think that there are players that should have been included on this list, make sure to mention their names in the comments section and let us discuss whether they deserve a spot on this list or not. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss a video. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you around.